Lynn Truesdell. I am the founder and CEO of the Association of Natural Hair Care Professionals. And
yes. Ooh, ooh.
And so today I just wanted to bring some educators that I respect very much into the room to talk about, I've titled this Universal Truths of Hair Care. And it really has come from us going from hair show to hair show and asking people, stylists, educators, just what they think about the industry. And I'm going to play you a little 5-minute video so you all can kind of see where this conversation is coming from. And then when we begin, I'm going to let each one of you all introduce yourself. And then we're going to hit on a couple of topics, or a few topics. And we want to talk about what things are, I'm going to say rules, and then what things have rules or laws, and then what things have flex to it. That is just up to each individual stylist.
Nice.
And I'll let y'all think about that for a moment.
Okay, so you're doing a video now, like watch it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Can you see? Okay.
Make yourself comfortable.
Oh, great. That's
all right, so
Yeah, this is good.
Now, stepping on each other a little too much. When we all pretty much do the same thing, we have the right understanding, and we pretty much build a great
care professionals asked natural hair educators what they thought the biggest challenge facing today's stylists is. And this is what they had to say.
I would say the competition. Now, stepping on each other a little too much. When we all pretty much do the same thing, we have the right understanding, and we pretty much build a great standard in the industry, we wouldn't have that competition because we all would have a successful rate. As many black people or African Americans or whoever, whatever type of hair you're doing that we have in America, if we all just had our niche, we would do just fine.
The biggest challenge that I have found throughout the 24 plus years is that we are masters at our craft, but we don't master how to develop a successful business plan.
Getting rid of the hustle mentality and thinking like business-minded individuals, true entrepreneurs.
A lot of stylists get out of school just identifying with just being artists when they are also business people. So, you know, I think that causes challenges with client retention, revenue building, all those things. So that's what I think the challenge is with a lot of stylists.
I do have a concern that a lot of stylists or new stylists coming on have gotten away from the core basics of what actually professionalism, hair care, those sort of things really are.
This industry, we have to have a standard, and I think the standard is missing. I think when you go into one salon to the next across the country, hairstylist is giving different information on the same technique. It's still one head of hair. Everybody got the same bonds, everybody got the same hair makeup across the country. So we need to sort of channel that information and understand that the consumers are getting the correct information.
One of the challenges I see with stylists is that they tend to try to follow what their clients want as opposed to helping their clients with what they need. Not all the stylists, but a lot of stylists. They see the hair loss, they see the scalp changes, they hear in the symptoms that individuals may be experiencing, which is bruising, itching, excessive flaking, tenderness of the scalp, but unfortunately they know the client wants to sew in, so they just cover it up. Or they know they want a color and a rinse and a relaxer on the same day, and so they do it all. And unfortunately, that scalp can only handle so much. And once we get to the point of irreversible changes, it's too late.
If you understand what makes our hair, which is the cosmetology side, and how to relax it, then you should be, that's where it comes with product knowledge. So I feel like product, as far as the ingredients in the products, will help you give the person what they're asking for.
I just believe that we have a lot of clients that are very curious and intelligent about getting information before we get it. So if we, as cosmetologists or professionals, can really stay ahead of the game and keep ourselves educated, we will find ourselves a little bit more resourceful in an area that we should be more knowledgeable about, more so than the client. So education really is the key.
The biggest challenge I'd say would be the internet, where nowadays people move more towards looking
step up on YouTube instead of seeking their closest professional. While YouTube is a good way for inspiration, but I still feel that nothing takes the place of our education and our schooling and our professional license.
I think we live in a society of do-it-yourselfers, and especially with things being so accessible for our clients, they don't like to trust us a lot of the times. So I think the hardest thing is when us as professional stylists either don't know enough information or we don't want to learn enough information to properly educate our clients.
Schooling has limited the type of education that people get because so many women have decided to transition, and men, into wearing natural hair. The schools aren't necessarily educating on how to properly treat afro textured hair or curly textured hair while it is in natural state. What's being taught is how to straighten hair, how to break hair down, how to break the bonds of the hair, and what we want to do is fortify the hair and keep those bonds together.
Everyone jumped on the natural hair bandwagon, and again, they didn't understand hair. It started drying out. They didn't understand why. They didn't understand how to treat it. And again, it goes back to understanding hair. What bonds are you breaking? What bonds are you not breaking? You know, what bonds control the shrinkage? Heat damage. Is there such thing as heat damage? So all these new things that have come up with natural hair being the catalyst that fueled them, I should say, you know, people was just getting lost and they didn't understand exactly how to maintain a healthy head of natural hairs.
As far as natural hair care goes, again, it is just that we don't know. We were so locked and loaded in doing relaxed hair that it became easy to us. And now that we are dealing with what we were dealing with before natural hair, we feel as though we can't. So that has been my goal, is just to help people to understand it's still hair. All of it is hair, and we want it all to be healthy.
Power off. Right. Okay. So what I'm going to do is ask our panelists to come back. Leave that last chair open for Belinda right here.
That's a beautiful time.
Perfect. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down the line, and what I would like to start with is introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself as it pertains to the industry, and tell us like one thing that resonated with you about that video.
Okay. Hello everybody, my name is Patrice Hector. I am a stylist here in Atlanta. I've been a stylist now for almost 30 years. Next year I'll be celebrating 30 years. I specialize in hair cutting, short hair, and I am also the creator of HBox, which is a financial planner that I created for hairstylists to help stylists to monitor and manage and keep up with their money on a daily basis. That's been something that's been really near and dear to me, because when I first started in the industry, I was just excited about making the money, but not really focusing on the future and thinking about life after behind the chair. So, but that's a little bit about me. What was the question? Sorry.
Something that resonated with you.
Oh, with the video. Everything that all of the stylists talked about on the video was very true. One of the things that I've really focused on in the last probably 4 to 5 years is telling stylists, especially the younger stylists, to focus. When you come into the beauty industry, try to find your niche and what it is that you really enjoy doing in this industry. Because if you really enjoy doing something on a daily basis, then getting up, coming to work every day will not be like work. It'll just be like getting up, doing something that you truly enjoy doing. So finding your niche, continuously educating yourself on a regular basis. Even myself, even with almost 30 years in the industry, I still practice hair cutting. I still pull out my mannequin. I still do the things that I need to do, or what I did when I first started in the industry. So I would say just continuously to learn and grow.
Okay, awesome. Yay. I'm a fan. Okay, my name is Robin D. Groover. I've been in the industry 30 years now, and I'm like, yes. And so,
my passions about the industry is really, at this point, turning your talent into assets. I believe a lot of times we, being in the service industry, we're not understanding how to scale our business. And the only way that we can scale our business is really to duplicate and have efforts and systems that allow us to generate revenue without having to physically be there in the labor area. After 30 years of loving it, doing 50 heads, then 20, then 10, then 5, then I'll see you next. Never. It is a progression, and I do agree with you as far as you have to love it. I love it. I live it. And the thing about the video that I love was a variety. One, what you said about Afro textured hair. It is a mastery behind texture, type, and condition. There are variables. People really try to put hair into boxes. The truth of the matter, hair is as unique as a fingerprint. And with that being the case, you must understand not only the artistry, but the science of hair. People call me a natural hair specialist. However, I am a healthy hair specialist. I was a relaxer specialist first. However, the market dictated me as a natural hair specialist because I was able to manipulate texture from straight to curly and curly to straight. And so with that being said, it is about the knowledge and the love fusing together to become one. And then once you find that, I think that our voice will be heard on a federal level, because I believe that federal standardization is needed within our industry, because there's a lost requirement of excellence that's happening with all of the entrepreneurial opportunities that don't require licensing. And so with that, I believe that education and policy is our pathway to reach those goals. That's it.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm going to introduce myself right after I piggyback on that, because one of the things that happens is there's a lack of integrity that exists when it comes to caring for the people and the hair. So we think about like a lot of the terminology that we use in reference to hair and everything. I know one of the things that was discussed in the video was to talk about the terminology that we use and the techniques that are used with natural hair, and a lot of them were adopted from DIYers on YouTube. So I never knocked the DIY because it was the DIYer that helped to usher the consumer market to our chairs. As a result of that, a lot of people did experience, you know, more revenue because they ushered people into wearing natural hair. The downside has been they are not experts at any other hair outside of their own. And in many cases, they may not be experts at that. You know, if you're someone who's always had long flowing hair down your back, even with the relaxer, then with natural, you're more than likely going to be the one with this big, loose, you know, multiracial textured hair. You know, so, and a lot of people are seeking to achieve that look, especially when it's not your genetics. So I am Darius Peace. I'm your natural hair expert. I just hit my 20-year mark in the industry. I exclusively treat and style natural Afro textured hair. I travel all over the world teaching and speaking on the topic of natural Afro textured hair, and I help to facilitate smooth and easy experiences and transitions for those who choose to wear it and for those who choose to style it. We've just launched what we call the High Beauty Style Network, and it's a platform that's created exclusively for hairstylists, barbers, and beauty influencers to learn our signature method of treating and styling natural hair, which is a more modern approach to natural hair styling and a longer lasting approach for people who choose to get their hair styled. So women and men can expect 2 to 4 weeks of longevity with their styles, especially when I think about twist styles. You know, when I hear people say that they do twist styles, you know, every other day, or, you know, a twist style should typically last with full definition for up to 2 weeks. So we help with that with our styling method. We help people to grow their clientele through our extensive database of clients who are looking for people to style their hair in the High Beauty method, and we help stylists to make more money behind the chair and beyond the chair. So we do that. What resonated most with me in the video not most, but what stood out was the comment, that was the first comment about there being a lot of competition in the industry. And unfortunately, I have never experienced that. That has never been my experience in the industry. So when I hear people say that, that is typically a reflection of who they are and what they've attracted to themselves, because I've only experienced joy. And in my experience, nothing like the natural hair industry for me. Yes. I know a lot of people are transitioning into it being called the textured hair industry, which is fine. I think it's all, positive, but, the level of camaraderie and love and the love of self that usually accompanies growing out your natural hair, that's connected so many of us. So I've never experienced that. So when I hear people say that, it's like, no, that's a relaxer thing. And I ain't saying, but there's a certain mindset that typically accompanies that, those styling techniques and methods. But, when you have a different connection to yourself and who you organically are, that creates a bond, and so in the same way that we have these bonds in our hair to bring us together and showcase fortitude, that's what the industry does that. So one of the things that sets me apart in the industry and why I say I'm your natural hair expert is I usually correlate the parallels that exist with how we treat our hair and how we've been treated or we treat ourselves. Yes. So that's, just more of a psychological and a sociological approach to the industry. So I'm Darius Peace.
Yes, and I'm going to run. How dare I come behind that? So I'm Lauren Rockingham. I'm your etiquette exec, your favorite X, and I always seal it with a kiss. Everything for me is 2 X's. I'm a hairstylist. I've been in this industry for 15 years. With that being said, I'm a corporate contract hairstylist, so I work for Chi as an educator and an artist. With that being said, for me in this industry, I'm constantly watching things change. When I say etiquette, I'm looking at people and how they conduct themselves in a salon environment. When I listen to these people that have spoken already, these guests, these beautiful people, they tap on so many things, but when we talk about texture, we forget, to incorporate, like you said, biracial. There is no true race. There is not. So we're dealing with all these textures, but at the same time, how are you conducting yourself as an individual? How do you see yourself? How do you want people to see you? When I thought about this video and what was being said, what I'm seeing not happen is people are not doing consultations. Right. We got away from the very same thing, the core value of what got us to where we are. And if you talk to them, you can find out more about who you're dealing with. That flamboyant personality can't always have that flamboyant hairstyle. Right. Let's be real. That's not where she works. But the other thing is, when it comes to natural hair, or you're dealing with textures, who are you without your mask? That's what's happening, because when they take their mask off, when they take the extensions out, or when they sit there and they take the makeup off, do you still love yourself? It's the power of I am. So you put out that invitation. So everything that I put together was really about understanding why do businesses fail. Because you don't have the customer service, nor do you have the professionalism. Yet and still you want somebody to sit there and invest in you. But we want to invest in ourselves. So it's like the power of 3 I's. I say inspiration, innovation, and investment. Without innovation, you cannot be inspired. And if you're not inspired, how can you perform? But when you are inspired, you will invest. Not only yourself, but you're investing in your clients. That energy transfer means a lot. So I look at that from that perspective when we're doing hair. We're releasing certain things. That client, you can't do it with everybody. So when you do that consultation, guess what? I'm not for you, but I know someone who is. And without them being offended, where I could send them down the street or send them to another state, that feels good. We're supposed to build these relationships. I'm supposed to be here in Georgia, and if I say you're in Birmingham, or if you're in Fayetteville, or if you're up north, I should be able to say, hey, guess what? I got somebody for you, and trust that. But we're not really identifying with the people that look at it the same way we do. They think image, oh, you're being superficial, call it what you want, but I love me. So I'm inviting you to love you. That's what we're supposed to put out. So as your etiquette exec, that's what I do. I help to encourage you, I help to inspire you, but I help to reiterate to you who it is and how you want to be. One of the things I do is a lot of times, who are you? So when people say, how are you? I say, I'm amazing. I say it with conviction. It's my affirmation and my confirmation as to who I am. So who are you? And I'm Lauren.
Yes. So Belinda, you didn't get to see the video, so I'm gonna put you in the hot seat.
Is that the video you sent me?
Yes, you did see it.
I did.
Because you did your homework, I'm not gonna put you in the hot seat. I'm gonna tell you the question. So the question is, first introduce yourself. And then the question is, what in that video resonated most with you?
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, first and foremost, this panel, amazing. Yes. Amazing what is come together to share. And that's, for me, hearing what everyone was saying, that's exactly where we've come full circle and we need to get back to. And it is about the sharing experience. It is about loving who you are, in spite of looking around, and what social media has done is made us compare ourselves to each other. And it's really not about the comparison. It really is about the inspiration, the elevation, the rising to the occasion of who God created us in our unique and wonderful selves to be. And it is a foundational building that we have to get back to and grow on. What I loved was that each person up here was able to speak to who you are. Yes. Who you are then predicated who you are resonating to everyone else. And you brought with that the ability to share where each person in here could connect to, I need a little bit of that, I need a little bit of this, I need a little bit of that. So now we have a full scope of how we put a full piece of pie together of who we should be and how we help each other. And with that said, that's what I picked up on the video. People are searching. Yes. They are looking. They need a little piece of here, 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 here to help pull it together and to always be in an innovative mindset. Because who we were even 2 years ago is not good enough for where we are right now and where we're going. And if we're the leaders, because you stop and you think about salons. Salons have always been a place of refuge. That's right. It is a place for people when they are broken from life to come into and to release. So we have to carry ourselves in a manner that is not about us when they come in, that we are so put together well enough and we have our resources where we can go to, so that when we go to work, we go in to build and to refortify those broken pieces when they come to us. And we have to be in the mindset to recognize that when they walk through. They may not be your customer through the consultation, but they may have needed a nice smile and an affirmation and just a nice exchange where you could consult and send and say, we need somebody in Birmingham who is A, B, C, D. And through that network, we now have helped someone. And you will never know what they were going through. You will never know. And for me, that's what resonated within that film, is that this is not just about hair, people. It's not just about hair. And if we stop focusing just about the hair and on the people, we can gather back and move forward in the position that God created salons to be, in leadership role. In leadership role. And with that said, I'm Belinda K. Baker. And I am the mama. I've been in it 32 plus years.
Look, when I first started doing hair, Belinda was over design at the time. When I was wanting to be an educator, and Belinda was my leader at the time. So
Absolutely.
Full circle.
Full circle. And she's a Libra.
Oh, me too. It's a Libra season.
Yes. You should have known.
It's okay, Darren.
Oh no, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
Thank you. That's why you are there. Because you draw love.
Happy birthday.
Oh man, so I'm gonna take the conversation a little different direction. Being represent the Natural Hair Association. I want to start. I'm going to ask you, Patrice, and I'm going to ask you, Belinda. How has the sudden popularity of natural hair changed the industry for you? Or has it?
Well, it had, but again, about 4 years ago, when the natural, I guess the natural craze has been going on there for about, what, 10 years maybe, something like that. So maybe a little bit longer.
A little bit longer.
Okay.
A little bit longer.
So
it's really in that 20 range.
Yeah,
but we did not recognize it.
Right.
So from a recognition standpoint, it's been about 12 to 13 years that it is.
Okay.
It's on. Yeah.
So for me, I had to reinvent myself because what I saw, my clients that were weekly clients became bi-weekly or monthly or every 6 weeks because everybody was saying, oh, I think I'm going to go natural. And so I was used to those weekly clients or bi-weekly clients. And so I had to reinvent myself. I just truly had to reinvent myself, and that's when I went back to the basics of what I fell in love with the beauty industry 30 years ago, and that was hair cutting. So that's when I just started with the whole I'd rather rock short hair. So I just started a whole campaign on I'd rather rock short hair, and so I had to reinvent myself. So when I hear like the video, when people say it's a lot of competition in the industry, you have to reinvent yourself. I think the competition comes sometimes with stylists when they're still stuck in where they started and not reinventing themselves or finding a niche of what you really enjoy doing. So for me, I would just say, just reinvent yourself and move forward.
Awesome, thank you.
To kind of piggyback off, when the natural hair movement, and it was a movement, there have been certain things within the industry that you can 100% call it a movement. It is a natural hair movement. And so it will never go back to what it was before.
Right.
And in recognizing that, I had a very unique position. At the time that it was happening, I was working with a relaxer company. Okay. Let me be very specific. And as the director of education, I found myself in a place where I was the advocate for my stylists who were contractors to the company. So I'm saying that very specifically for anyone looking to get in platform artistry. You are an independent contractor that offers your services to another company, and they pay you for that service. So now that we have those things, as I became the advocate for my team, I'm looking at how can we position to take this relaxer company into a new era, and they didn't want to go because they were a relaxer company. Miss Margaret.
What is tea?
This 6 degrees becomes 2 degrees.
Yes, 1 degree.
And you get to know a lot of people. So, all of that said, at a certain point, I had to recognize they're not going to budge. They want to be a relaxer company. They're going to stay a relaxer company. So, what does that mean as we go forward and we're teaching a relaxer class? Duh. Okay. Natural hair as it was shifted everything that we knew, shifted it because we lost power. And I'm gonna just keep it real. We lost the power to be the expert driving the vehicle. And the consumer and the bloggers became that. So again, Darius, I love what you said. Thank God, and I'm gonna be real. Thank God that they did, because they opened up a line of communication that we were not willing to go down into, terminologies that we were not willing to create and develop ourselves. The woman asking for something different, the consumer was asking for something different to match this new lifestyle. And so as a salon owner, as the director of education for a product company, I began to research from a standpoint, what did that mean for us? It meant for me that I had to remodel my entire business. And my business had to stop being about what I did behind the chair, but what could I do as a team member or having a team work with me. And so my whole business restructured, and it restructured to be team oriented, it restructured to be a training facility, it restructured to be an advocate for stylists to come in, especially when you didn't know what your niche was. A lot of times you just didn't know. And so that was one of the gifts that God has given me, is to be able, I can look at you, I can watch you, give me 48 hours with you.
Yes.
So I'm real good at putting a package together for you of what I see that are your natural gifts, your natural talents. Not necessarily hair, because a lot of times you think it's wrapped up in what you're doing in the hairstyle. It really is about your personality and your character. And when we tap into that and we mix it in with the gifts and talents and what your hands and your eyes can do, then we can put together a game plan from where you are today and where you want to be in 5 years, where you want to be in 20 years, so that you're not looking at it as narrowly as, let me just do hair today. So we put together a professional profile for our stylists as to where you want to be in conjunction with the salon. And so we do parallel visions together. Parallel vision growth allows the company to get what you need as a company with the stylist working with you, but it also lets the stylist begin to work on their growth path, their maturity path. And at some point it may mean that you separate, but you don't separate in an angry position. You separate with the hallelujah, praise the Lord, you're moving on. Look at that branch growing from that tree. Because they say you will know a person by the branches.
Absolutely.
And so that to me was the biggest change, was to look at the business model and look at what natural hair was going to do. Was it going to stay? Was it here as a trend, or was it here to stay? It's here to stay. And it changed the whole way of looking at doing business. I hope I answered.
No, you did. You absolutely answered my question. And it's so crazy how everything, no matter whether you're talking about technique, you're talking about natural hair, or talking about competition, it all goes back to the personality, the business, and the love. No matter what question we ask, it always comes back to that. But it's very important to me that you all get the opportunity to ask some questions. That's what we're here for. We're here to network and to talk and learn from each other. So I'm going to open the floor up so that you guys can ask some questions. I'm going to start with the young lady in the back.
All of them on the panel know me from working with me. I'm already formulated.
Well, introduce yourself. Introduce to the rest of the group.
Okay. I'm Charlotte Salone. But I really want to ask, with so much emphasis on natural, and the word natural and nappy and naturalistic and all of that, it's caused some controversy between the naturals. So I have come up with a way that we can eliminate that, but I wanted to know, what are you guys' thoughts on that division that natural seems to be causing? How do we get a natural hair beat? This is crazy. So I just wanted to know, where does that come from? And how can we eliminate that from being the next issue in the natural hair community? Okay, Mrs. Gruber.
You said the word, which was division. Anytime there's division, the vision dies.
Yes.
And so we have to be very careful on the energy that we put out, so it's the energy we get back. You said something very important, Darius. I've always experienced the natural hair industry as an inclusive, loving environment. And if you look at the world and just life, everybody wants to segment. Everybody wants to be in their own little corner. The truth of the matter is, if we're the leadership, we have to have open arms and an open mind and forward conversations of connection. And that connection allow us to grow as a collective individuals and an industry. And so focus on the positive and not the negative. Because if you feed the monster shall grow. If you don't feed the monster, it'll shrivel up and die out. I think that some people use controversy for attention. And so therefore, if it's not for the good of the people, which is the professional and the client and the industry as a whole, it doesn't get any energy. So I would say stay on a positive path and always be welcoming to your philosophy and have respect for people who think differently.
Yes. I think that it all kind of boils down to semantics. And it's just language. And there are some people, because I grew up in the southern part of the United States where the term nappy is for many a negative, it has a negative connotation. It's one that typically one would not feel good. It's not a good reference or a positive reference to someone. However, in the northern part of the United States, it's viewed as a term of endearment. And, you know, people can embrace it and be proud of it. And then naturally, you know, I always look at it as language. And I, you know, whenever I'm traveling and speaking and educating, you know, my platform has been my hair ain't nappy. But I always inform and inspire people to use terms that are more accurate, you know, and as far as describing our hair is concerned. So you can use terms like curly or coily, which are more clear and concrete references to our hair. So I don't allow the semantics to interrupt the movement, because it is a movement, and it's a movement that we should all be very grateful for. I did want to further elaborate on the question about how the industry has changed. And I've only been in the industry for 20 years, but one of the things, which is right when everything started to shift, and one of the things that I recognized changing was the profile of the consumer. Because at first, you know, it was people who were just more in touch with more themselves. It was more cultural. You know, I'm loving my blackness. I'm very in touch with my roots. I want to have a more holistic way of living and existing. And then once that documentary Good Hair hit, because that played a major role in the shift in the natural hair world, the profile became different, because you started to recognize the detriments of improper relaxer applications and improper color or just improper chemical applications. I'm not going to demonize the relaxer because that's not a solution to anything, but it was the improper application thereof. That right there and then we're also in the eco-friendly movement too. So there's so many variables that contribute to why the industry has shifted, but it also brought about a new consumer. Now the professional woman who was sitting on top of, you know, at the top of the company, or, you know, the chair of the boards, these are now the women who are natural. And the issue that many stylists, natural, loctician, relaxers, cosmetologists, barbers, they've experienced is just not knowing how to accommodate this woman who was so accustomed to a certain look with her relaxer. How can we give them a smoother transition from, you know, wearing their hair straight for 30 plus years in many cases to now having something that is curly but still palatable for whatever her work environment is? Because to go in and just throw natural hair at companies that may not see it as a fit for their brands or just a fit for their brand aesthetic, you know, we have to be able to transition into style options that showcase more diversity even in natural hair. So how can I give these women and men, you know, something that is more modernized? And there's nothing wrong with updating, because our phones update every other day, it seems. So, you know, we have to also be able to update our techniques and our methods and, you know, add on to what the the YouTubers have done. I don't want to demonize them either, because I'm so grateful for everything that they have done, how they've ushered us all into a new culture of hairstyling. And now, as the stylists, it's our duty to usher the beauty industry into incorporating natural Afro-textured hairstyling or textured hairstyling into the curriculums. Because many stylists, the reason we weren't able to take advantage of this shift is because we weren't educated or equipped to do so. None of the beauty school curriculums incorporate natural hairstyling into the books. And fortunately, you know, Diane Bailey, along with other natural hair industry experts, longtime, you know, pioneers in the natural hair world, have been able to come together and incorporate a Milady's natural hair book, which is fantastic, but it's still not incorporated into the curriculum. You can have a book, but now we have to go into the systems of it all and make sure that everyone is able to accommodate this shift in the beauty industry, which includes natural Afro hair texturizing, and that is typically now done without chemical processes. So that's one of the ways that I've noticed the industry shift, the profile of the consumer, and as stylists, we're unable to supply the demand of the consumer because we're not equipped with the necessary techniques to accommodate this market, which is, you know, why
and even verbiage too. They don't know how to speak it to the customer.
Yes, yeah.
In order to get them to have an understanding as to what we need to do.
Absolutely.
So that verbiage, we need to unify on that.
Yeah, yeah. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Why am I doing this? I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm sitting back. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
I'm just going to give this compliment. I'm going to let then you can ask your question. I just want to give you all a compliment because you all are all used to being leaders.
But that was too far. I'm so sorry.
No, you were just the first one.
I'm so sorry.
What I want to say is, because I'm keep our schedule, but our classes have been so packed that a lot of you guys have just been kind of hanging out in the classroom. So what I'm going to do is we're going to do one last question, and then what we're going to do is we have a financial piece. And Desiree, what time is financial piece scheduled for? It's 1:30. So I think it's 1:30. But what we're going to do is we're going to push that financial piece back at least a half hour. So that we'll probably push it back an hour, so that you all can network. So that you actually have that time to network and talk and meet these wonderful leaders in the industry, enjoy some refreshments. Victoria, wave your hand. Victoria's with Salon Media 22. They've been a sponsor for us. Some of y'all might have noticed that instead of, we were going to charge for all the classes, instead of doing that, all of the ANHC Pro members, you know, receive free access to the classes thanks to their sponsorship. So thank you.
I've been in the industry for 36 years. Oh, wow.
I met Victoria through a totally different company. And a lot of you guys know. So I'm going to let you ask your question, and then we're going to file out into the networking room when we get networking, and then we'll let the financial people come in and set up.
Okay.
All right.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. My name is Angela Walker. I'm the co-founder of the Natural Hair Industry Convention happening next month.
Amen.
So I've only been in the industry for 10 years, and I think that there's a part of the conversation that's often missing because people like myself aren't on these panels. I entered in a time where, of course, everyone was going to college. Most of the stylists my age in natural hair, at least back in Maryland, we didn't go to cosmetology school. And we entered in a time where I considered going to cosmetology school, but then when I looked at the curriculum and I looked at the debt and I looked at straight hair ain't about to be in because everyone around me is cutting their hair, why would I make that decision financially and for my career in the natural hair industry? So I think that there is a piece of information that's missing as far as the exchange of information, because cosmetologists, I understand that hair is hair, but even when you look at the work, it looks different to me when I look at the work of cosmetologists that work on natural hair or textured hair versus the work of the natural hairstylists that didn't necessarily go to cosmetology school. And there are different techniques, and we both have amazing ways to deal with hair, but there's no way to exchange that information. One, because it's not in cosmetology schools. Someone like me isn't going to go to a cosmetology school and share the information that I have. And it's almost like, where do you go to exchange that information?
Wait, before it's just too good. So
you got us in trouble.
No. So this is just one specific thing. This isn't a universal answer to that question, but we are starting 2019 actually in this location every season. We're going to do showcases, and there are 4 professional stylists to come and teach their techniques. And so for all times, so whether it's someone who came up who's a professional who may not have gone through the cosmetology school, so that people can exchange those ideas. And also because working through the association, we get calls from different companies that want educators, but today companies need not only your resume or your whatever, your social media, but they need video. They need, they need to know that you've done it. So we're videotaping those showcases, and then we're offering critiques afterwards. So we have the critique and the conversation that goes along with exchanging those techniques amongst ourselves. And that's just on the technique side. I'm going to let them answer.
I forgot there was a panelist who said something about there not being a like everyone's not following us, or was that the video where they're like, it was the video where he said everyone's not following like this certain standard. And so we had started the convention because there was no place to all come together and meet, but it's just one time a year, and it's not everyone that's getting access, and it's not on this broad scale where like cosmetology schools, no matter what school you go to, there's going to be a basis. So, okay.
Go ahead. Borderline, my outlook on that is, number one, we're scared to share. And you have a lot of people that don't want to share because it's like they're looking at you like competition. I don't see that, because I feel like when you work in a traditional salon environment, right? I walk past my competition every day, if that's how you really want to look at it. I worked at like a huge salon. I don't want to say the name. So at the end of the day, when you work there, they had over 120 some stylists, makeup artists, and barbers. And you walk in there and you have some people like, well, I'm scared. I'm like, no, how can you be scared? It's like going to school. When you go to school, you're seeing your competition. You see who's coming up. I see what you're about to do. So why are you not sitting here and why not sharing it? And I think borderline is because we're so placed in the moment that we forget about longevity. And we forget about legacy. So you want to come up with this technique and it's real cute, and then you got this whole waiting list of people that want what you have because you want to keep it all to yourself, right? But then your waiting list gets so long, those people no longer want to wait for it. But you didn't want to train anybody because you wanted to be the only one that's in that industry, or you're the only one doing that technique. So where do I find a place to necessarily share it? If I didn't look at you, like me and Derek said that we agree, I don't get competition. Realistically, that person you look at in the mirror every day, you compete against that, and that's the hardest person you can compete with. I can't. So when you beat on me and pounce on me, baby, you have no idea what I did to myself. So I can't do the competition thing, but what I can do is encourage you. Like, we have to help build each other. You know, legacy is created because we sit there and we share it. So I can't talk about Miss Brenda and Darius and Robin. You know, I can't talk about the beautiful lady. What's her name? Patrice. She's so beautiful to me. So I can't talk. You can't do all those things, but you have to be in a place to share, and you have to not be scared to share. So let's stop doing that. So I need to look at what I'm creating, not just for my children, but what am I creating for my children's children? If I really want to make a footprint on this industry, then you have to do something different, and that's by sharing. Like for me, Robin, I remember when I first heard about her salon, too groovy, and you know, so my sister, I took her with me with field trip. She's getting into the industry, and I was like, yeah, look at what they do. She was like, no, we don't. She products what she used. Okay, I'm using Bumble and Bumble, I'm using Design. She had her things that she used, but for the most part, I remember seeing one of her clients walk out the door. I'm looking at this lady's hair like, oh my God, hair is beautiful. It was short. I couldn't imagine. She said, no, I don't have relaxed. I'm looking at it like, why you don't? Because your hair too straight. It was beautiful, but at the end of the day, she didn't stop sharing. So I feel like at that point, she created a platform for stylists that did natural hair because she was specific in what she did in her salon. And that transformed to other people that she helped build up. We have to be in a place to help build people versus breaking people. And we have to be in a position to share and stop being scared. Well, that's how we grow. We've impressed upon. When you impress upon somebody, they can never replace nothing that you've done. I don't care if they don't like you no more, don't talk to you no more. But once I've impressed upon you, you can't take that back.
I'm just gonna move because you have about 5 great questions in this room, and so I'm just gonna move the whole conversation into the network room. You have refreshments. You all are staying around to ask questions, and so so we're just gonna shift it that way. I appreciate you all. Thank you so much.